Ha! We're back. Get Warrior Tough, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. We are leadership and mental toughness coaches Andrew Wittman and the Dutch Coleman. All right, so hey guys, if you want to join the conversation, use on Twitter, use the hashtag #GetWarriorTough. You can find Dutch at the Dutch Coleman, and I am at Warrior Tough PhD. We'd love to hear from you, and I think we got another caller. If that's right, AJ, let's bring him up. You're on the air. Get Warrior Tough.
Hey guys, it's Doug in South Carolina. How's everybody doing?
Doug, what's up, buddy?
You guys are, man. That's awesome. Congrats on the show. It's been a long time coming, and really excited to be able to tune in tonight. I had a question. You mentioned a phrase a little while back when you were talking to Craig, which is just an awesome to hear from him, and I know a little bit about his background. And I think if more people knew about him, they would be just really impressed with all the things that he does and has done. And you mentioned in the talking about the difference between being a responder and a reactor. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that, especially kind of the line of work that he's in, what it means with those types of situations.
Oh, that's a great question, man. First, and I'll get to that just a second. But I just want to thank you because, dude, we wouldn't be on the air without you. You're the one that got us started. You bet on me when no one else would. So I just want to publicly thank you for betting on me when nobody else did. So I love you, man, and I appreciate you.
You bet. Appreciate that.
All right, so now, responder and reactor. Okay, so in our line of work as a gunslinger and with Craig, as a crisis manager and, counter-terrorist guy, so we call cops, firefighters, and EMS. What do we call those guys, Dutch?
First responders.
First responders, right? But what happens is most people live their life as first reactors. They just react to stuff. So what happens when we make a 911 call? Does the 911 operator go like, "Oh my gosh, there's an emergency!" Ah! Right? What would you think if that's what would happen? If you called 911 and that's what would happen, I'd be like, "Man, we're in trouble, right? This is my taxes are going to this. Are you kidding me?" Right? So no, the 911 operator is very calm. They're like, "911, what's your emergency?" And then they start asking questions, gathering information, which they give that information to the first responder, who actually comes up with a response, an actual plan before they get on the scene. And so that's the difference between being a first reactor and a first responder. So a first responder is somebody who takes that cognitive time to think up a plan logically. And this is the number one rule of being CEO of you, Dutch. Separate logic from emotion. You got to separate the two. Emotion is the driver, why we would do what we do, and logic is how we steer.
Now, I want to make this one thing clear. I understand what you just said. You said separate them. So I need people to get that. So there are going to be points where I'm going to stop the talking for a second because I want people to get very critical things. He said separate them. So you're still going to use both of them, but you have to be able to separate them so you can use each of them for what they're worth because they both have a tremendous amount of value.
Absolutely.
They both have a tremendous amount of value, but you have to be using them appropriately. And so that's what happens is we misappropriate each of those things and they get all jumbled up and one gets where it's not supposed to be and then we're a mess. So separate logic and emotions.
Right. No, and you're right. It's misappropriation, man. That's exactly what it is. And it's the mixing, and I always like to talk about like that first Mission Impossible, not the 17th one, but Mission Impossible 1, right? The first one. When he had the two pieces of gum and it was red light, green light, right? And he put don't mix it's a binary explosive. He mixed it together, he slapped it on the helicopter and it blew up, right? So that's what happens with logic and emotion. If you mix the two, bad things happen. It's like a binary explosive. I was in doing a seminar in Atlanta a couple months ago, and I was asking about, making an emotional decision, how'd that work out? And someone yelled in the back, "Divorce!" And I said, well, sometimes it might, but no. So listen, emotional decisions don't work out too good. So what we want to do is separate the emotion. Emotion is our driver. That's why we would do the hard thing. And so listen, I talk about this on the road. Like imagine that you're driving home from work one day and it's just one of those days where you're just, numb and, you're decompressed and you're on autopilot. You don't remember passing the gas station or going through the traffic light, turning left off your exit, none of that. You get about a mile from your house and you go, wow, there looks like someone's burning leaves. There's like black smoke in the sky, And then you don't think anything else of it. You go back to driving your car and you're just trying to decompress. And about a mile from your neighborhood, you say, that looks like it's over my neighborhood, that black smoke. And then as you pull into the neighborhood, that looks like it's over my street. And as you pull into your street, that's when you look down the street and you see your house is engulfed in flames and the neighbors are out and the firefighters are out. And as you're trying to process that your house is engulfed in flames, it hits you that your 2 kids, 8 and 10, are in the house alone. And you're looking around and you're going from neighbor to neighbor. Have you seen my kids? Have you seen my kids? Have you seen my kids? Has anybody seen my kids? Oh my gosh, somebody has to save my kids. And you go running towards the house and the fire chief stops you and says, I've been fighting fires for 25 years. That's way too dangerous. It's a 1 in a million shot that your kids would survive that. I won't even let my men go in there. This is a recovery operation. You need to go sit on the curb, and when the house burns itself out, we'll recover what's left of your baby's bodies. And I always ask, well, do you take the 1 in a million shot, or do you sit on the curb? I mean, I've asked this to thousands of people, right? And I'm always looking for that one person. I almost found him in New Jersey a couple months ago. He said, well, I don't have kids. I said, well, it's your mom. He's like, I'm going in. I said, you just saved New Jersey, man, because I was going to talk bad about New Jersey for a long time, right? So because he said, yeah, I'm going in. I've never met anybody that wouldn't go in. So that's our driver. That's the emotion. That's why we would go in. So then I asked him, okay, what's the plan? Save the babies. Now all 3 of you are dead. So this is where we separate out the logic. We have to have a logical plan. Steer with logic.
Absolutely.
Right, so we have to come up with a plan. So here's the question is, how would I do it? Okay, Chief, it's impossible. It's a 1 in a million shot. Okay, how would I do it? And then I ask people, okay, does the fire chief know your kids like you do? Where would they be? Right? Where would your kids be? I always talk about my kids being in the basement with the Xbox, right? So that's my best shot at finding them is in the basement, and then I'm going to go grab the firefighters' equipment. I always say I'm going to even drive their truck in my house. Someone said, you drive their truck? I'm like, you're not going to hurt anything. The house is on fire. You're not going to hurt the furniture. It's already burning, right? I mean, drive the truck in, open the door, kids get in. Will that work? I don't know if it'll work, Dutch, but it's better than just go and save the babies and screaming into the house. Absolutely.
You said you know your kids better than the chief, right? So if you've had those discussions with your kids, you know what the plan was. Because if you have kids, you've had a discussion about a fire. What do? When you run in the bathroom, you go in the closet. So you know what you've told them. So you know the most likely places they will be. Well, I remember we had our annual fire talk last week, and we talked about the closet in the bedroom. So now I know much more than the chief who's been doing this for 20 years because I know the most likely place that the kids are located. So the chances of survival just rose exponentially.
Right.
So now, that's what we mean by plan. So you don't react emotionally, but you let that logic jump in right away, and you start coming up with a plan very quickly. Now, if you think like this already, you're not sitting there listening to Andrew and Dutch's tapes as you're trying to figure out and the kids are burning. This is already a part of your mindset.
Right,
that's why you got to get this stuff now.
Right. That's why you got to do it now before. Like you said, this is proactive. It's preemptive. Right. You don't want to wait till the house is on fire before you're coming up with did you get this stuff. And we use that house, the burning house. I use that as an illustration so that folks can get a vivid picture in their mind. And it is an extreme, and I hope nobody ever goes through it. But I've had people come up to me and say, you don't know how close that was. That happened to me. That literally happened to me. I've had people tell me that in about 4 or 5 different events that I've been through in the last couple of years. That's happened to me, and you don't know. I started like palpitating when you're telling the story. It was just like too real for them. So hey, Dutch, dude, the hour is just about gone, man. We're under 2 minutes already. So this has been a great first launch for our national and international. Thank you to Craig Mraz for calling in and everybody that called in, Josh and Karen and Doug, and you guys made it a great first show. And love it. Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. And the people who have been listening to us for months are going, first show, I've been listening to you for months. But the new platform, we love it. BBM Global. I see the start of a beautiful friendship, and I'm looking forward to the next show.
Absolutely. Me too. I'll see you next week.